Welcome to our channel. Stop for a moment because the life you want may not require a new beginning. It may require a new way of thinking. Most people grow older every year, but very few become mature. They learn to speak, work, earn, and survive, yet they never learn the hardest skill of all, managing themselves. They blame people for their anger, circumstances for their failures, and the past for their present. But what if the real turning point begins when you stop asking the world to change and start changing the way you respond to it? Today, we are going on a journey through 6 principles that can transform your mind, your relationships, and your future. Stay until the end, because the final lesson may explain why some people become stronger after pressure, while others become bitter. First, learn to control yourself instead of trying to control everyone around you. This sounds simple, but it can change everything. You cannot decide what another person thinks, says, feels, or does. You cannot force someone to understand your heart or behave according to your expectations. The harder you try to control people, the more frustrated you become. The first turning point comes when you accept this truth. Other people are outside your control, but your response belongs to you. Imagine someone insulting you. Your first instinct may be to answer immediately, defend yourself, or say something painful in return. But maturity creates a space between the insult and your response. You breathe, you pause, you decide. That pause may look small, but it is where your power lives. You discover that not every attack deserves an answer, and not every disagreement deserves your energy. Sometimes the strongest response is calm silence. Sometimes it is walking away. Sometimes it is speaking without anger. The goal is not to become cold. The goal is to remain in charge of yourself. This lesson reaches beyond arguments. It also applies to your habits. You may know you should study, exercise, practice a skill, or work toward a dream. Yet your mind whispers, later. If you obey every feeling, your future becomes controlled by comfort. The second turning point happens when you act according to your values instead of your mood. You wake up even when you feel lazy. You practice even when nobody praises you. You continue even when motivation disappears. That is self-control. Real maturity is not controlling another person's life. It is learning to guide your own thoughts, emotions, choices, and actions. Then comes the third turning point. Stop making your happiness depend on what other people give you. Expectations can quietly become demands. You expect a friend to call, a partner to understand, a family member to appreciate you, or the world to reward your effort quickly. When those expectations are not met, disappointment enters your heart. The problem is not always what happened. Sometimes it is the story you created about what should have happened. Instead of demanding that life behave according to your script, begin appreciating what arrives. If someone helps you, be grateful. If someone encourages you, value it. If someone does not respond as you hoped, remain steady. Appreciation does not mean accepting disrespect. You can have standards, boundaries, and self-respect without demanding that everyone satisfy your emotional needs. This shift gives you freedom. You stop chasing approval and start noticing blessings that were already present. The fourth turning point arrives when you stop measuring progress only by results. Give your best effort, then allow time to do its work. A seed does not become a tree because someone keeps pulling it upward. It sows beneath the soil before anyone can see the change. Your growth can look the same. You may practice for days without feeling better. You may work for months without receiving recognition. You may make progress so slowly that you think nothing is happening. Do not destroy the process by demanding instant proof. Keep showing up, keep learning, keep improving. One day, the results will reveal what your daily discipline was building in silence. Mature people understand that consistency is more powerful than excitement. They do not quit simply because the reward is late. They focus on what they can do today, because effort is theirs to control while timing is not. So ask yourself tonight, what am I trying to control that was never mine to control? What expectation is stealing my peace? What small action can I repeat until it becomes part of who I am? Your answers may become the beginning of a different life. And remember, maturity does not arrive with age. It arrives when you take responsibility for your mind, protect your peace, and choose your response even when life gives you every reason to react. The fifth turning point begins when you understand that maturity also means knowing when to let go. But carrying yesterday everywhere does not repair yesterday. It only makes today heavier. There comes a moment when you must look at what happened, learn what it taught you, and release the part that no longer serves you. Letting go does not mean saying the hurt was acceptable. It means refusing to allow that hurt to control the rest of your life. You can remember without returning. You can forgive without trusting the same person again. You can love someone and still choose distance. You can accept that a door closed without spending every morning staring at it. The sixth turning point comes when you stop confusing loneliness with failure. There will be seasons when your circle becomes smaller. Some friendships will fade. Some people will stop understanding your direction. At first, this can feel like rejection, but sometimes losing noise creates room for clarity. If your life is changing, your relationships may change too. Do not panic simply because everyone is not walking beside you. A quiet season can teach you who you are when nobody is watching. It can teach you to enjoy your own company, make decisions without applause, and build confidence that does not depend on a crowd. The seventh turning point appears when you learn to listen before you speak. Many conflicts grow because people listen only to prepare their answer. They are waiting for their turn to defend themselves, prove themselves, or win. Mature communication is different. You listen to understand. You notice the feeling behind the words. You do not have to agree with someone to understand them. This simple habit can transform relationships, but listening also requires wisdom. Not every opinion deserves equal weight. You can listen respectfully while still choosing your own path. The eighth turning point comes when you stop taking every criticism personally. Some criticism is valuable, and some is simply noise. If someone points out a real weakness, do not become angry. Study it. Ask whether it can make you better. But if someone criticizes you only because your growth makes them uncomfortable, do not surrender your confidence to their words. Imagine carrying a suitcase filled with every opinion people have ever given you. You would become exhausted before reaching your destination, so become selective. Keep useful advice and leave destructive judgment behind. You need the courage to hear others without allowing every voice to become your identity. The ninth turning point arrives when you understand the value of patience. Modern life teaches people to expect everything quickly. Quick money, quick success, quick healing, quick answers, but meaningful growth rarely follows that schedule. Patience is not sitting still and doing nothing. Patience is continuing the right action while accepting that results may take time. A person who practices patience becomes difficult to defeat because delay no longer feels like rejection. They understand that some doors need preparation before they open. Then slowly, repetition changes you. What once required enormous effort begins to feel natural. This is how character develops too. You become disciplined by practicing discipline, confident by keeping promises to yourself, and peaceful by repeatedly choosing peace. The 10th turning point comes when you stop waiting to feel ready. There will always be another reason to delay. You may think you need more knowledge, more money, more confidence, or better circumstances. Sometimes preparation matters, but often you're waiting for fear to disappear before taking the first step. Fear rarely disappears first. Courage often means moving while fear is still present. Start with what you have, use what you know. Take the next reasonable step. You can improve while moving. The person who begins imperfectly often goes farther than the person who spends years preparing for a perfect beginning. And when you finally act, something surprising happens. Your mind receives evidence that you are capable. One small action becomes another and another. Confidence begins to grow from experience rather than imagination. So do not demand that you become fearless before you begin. Begin and let courage grow along the way. Your life can change quietly through decisions that nobody else notices. You release an old grudge. You choose discipline over comfort. You listen instead of arguing. You protect your time. You walk away from unnecessary drama. You begin again after failure. None of these moments may look dramatic, but together they create a completely different person. That is why maturity is not one giant transformation. It is a collection of small decisions repeated until they become your character. The person you become tomorrow is being shaped by what you repeatedly choose today. So choose carefully. Your future is listening. And every choice you make today is quietly building the person you will meet tomorrow. So make choices that future you will respect. The 11th turning point arrives when you understand that your peace is more valuable than winning every argument. For years, you may have spent precious energy explaining yourself to people who had already decided what they wanted to believe. You defended every choice, answered every accusation, and tried to make everyone understand your heart. But maturity teaches you something powerful. Not every misunderstanding needs a response. Sometimes silence is not weakness, it is wisdom. You do not need to attend every battle simply because someone invited you. Your energy has a purpose, and you should spend it on building your life instead of proving your worth to people who refuse to see it. The 12th turning point comes when you stop measuring your life by someone else's clock. Maybe someone your age has a better job, a larger house, a stronger relationship, or more followers. You look at their progress and suddenly feel as if your own life is falling behind. But comparison hides the full story. You see their result, not their private struggle, sacrifices, opportunities, or timing. Your journey has its own road. A seed does not fail because another seed becomes a tree first. It simply has a different season. So measure yourself against who you were yesterday. Are you wiser? Are you calmer? Are you stronger? Are you making better choices? If the answer is yes, then you are moving forward. The 13th turning point appears when you learn that failure can become information instead of identity. One mistake does not mean you are a failure. One bad decision does not define your entire character. Failure can reveal what needs to change. Maybe your plan was weak. Maybe your timing was wrong. Maybe you trusted the wrong person. Maybe you needed a skill you had not developed yet. Whatever the reason, look at the experience honestly and ask, what is this teaching me? That question can turn pain into wisdom. A person who learns from failure becomes stronger than someone who has never been tested. Do not waste your mistakes. Use them. Let every setback teach you something that success could never teach you. The 14th turning point comes when you begin protecting your attention. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you own, yet the world constantly tries to take it. Every notification, argument, video, rumor, and endless scroll asks for a piece of your mind. If you give everything your attention, you will have nothing left for your purpose. Become intentional. Put the phone away when you need to work. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Stop checking what everyone else is doing every few minutes. Give one task your full attention. You will be amazed by what becomes possible when your mind is no longer divided into 100 directions. Focus does not always require more effort. Sometimes it requires fewer distractions. And when you protect your attention, you protect your future. The 15th turning point is the most important. You stop waiting for someone else to save you. This does not mean you must do everything alone. We all need support, guidance, kindness, and people who believe in us. But your life cannot remain paused while you wait for someone to give you permission to begin. You cannot wait for the perfect friend, perfect opportunity, perfect apology, or perfect moment. At some point, you must decide that your next step belongs to you. You may not control what happened yesterday, but you can control what you do with today. You may not control another person's choice, but you can choose your response. You may not control how quickly the door opens, but you can prepare while it is closed. That realization creates a different kind of strength. You stop begging life to become easier and start becoming stronger for life. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what can I build from this? That question changes everything. Suddenly, your pain becomes a teacher, your solitude becomes training, your failures become lessons, and your quiet seasons become preparation. You realize that the strongest version of you was created during the days when you had reasons to quit but chose one more step. It was created when nobody applauded and you kept working. It was created when your confidence disappeared and you continued anyway. Perhaps this is the part of your story you misunderstood. You thought you were losing time, but you were gaining wisdom. You thought you were being rejected, but you were learning discernment. You thought you were alone, but you were discovering your own strength. You thought the ending had arrived, but life was quietly preparing another beginning. Now imagine waking tomorrow with this understanding. You no longer need to become someone else. You can begin. Maybe this is the moment when you finally understand that your life does not need to become perfect before you can become peaceful. You have spent enough time waiting for everything to make sense. Now you can move forward while some questions remain unanswered. You can build while some pieces are still missing. You can smile again without pretending that you never suffered. Your past may always be part of your story, but it does not have to remain the author of your future. The person you were yesterday deserves compassion, not punishment. That person survived with the knowledge they had, made choices with the strength they had, and kept going even when they did not know where the road would lead. So, stop being cruel to your former self. Learn from that person, thank that person, then continue. There is a beautiful freedom that comes when you realize you do not need permission to start again. You can wake up tomorrow and make a different choice. You can change your habits. You can protect your peace. You can learn a new skill. You can apologize when you are wrong. You can walk away from what repeatedly harms you. You can return to a dream you abandoned years ago. You can begin again at any age, in any season, from any starting point. Your beginning does not have to look impressive. It only has to be real. Maybe nobody will notice at first. Maybe nobody will clap when you choose discipline. Maybe people will not understand why you are changing. Let them wonder. Growth does not require an audience. Some of the most important decisions of your life will happen in rooms where nobody is watching. You will choose to study instead of wasting another evening. You will choose to save instead of spending everything. You will choose to exercise when you do not feel motivated. You will choose to stay silent instead of answering an insult. You will choose to continue after a disappointing result. These quiet decisions are building something powerful inside you. They are teaching you that you can trust yourself. And self-trust is one of the greatest forms of confidence. When you repeatedly keep promises to yourself, even small ones, your mind begins to believe you. You say you will wake up early, and you do. You say you will finish the task, and you finish it. You say you will stop returning to what hurts you, and you finally stop. Each promise becomes evidence. Each action tells you, I am capable of leading my own life. That is how real confidence is built. Not by repeating empty words, but by becoming someone you can depend on. There will still be difficult days. Do not expect this new understanding to remove every problem. Life will continue to surprise you. Some plans will fail. Some people will disappoint you. Some days you will feel strong, and other days you will question everything again. That is normal. Strength does not mean you never struggle. Strength means struggle no longer controls your direction. You can have a bad day without creating a bad life. You can experience disappointment without becoming disappointment. You can cry without believing you are weak. You can rest without believing you are lazy. You can start over without calling yourself a failure. This is what emotional strength looks like. It is not loud. It is steady. It allows you to bend without breaking and change without losing yourself. And perhaps the greatest lesson is this. You do not need to know exactly how your story will end to make the next part meaningful. You only need to know what kind of person you want to be while the story is unfolding. Be honest, be patient, be brave, be kind, but keep boundaries. Be ambitious, but do not destroy your peace. Dream deeply, but take practical steps. Love people, but do not abandon yourself to keep them. Give yourself permission to grow beyond the identity others remember. People may continue to see the old version of you because that is the version they knew. You do not have to convince them otherwise. Let your actions speak. Time will reveal the difference. One day, the same person who doubted your changes may notice that you are calmer, stronger, more focused, and no longer controlled by the things that once broke you. But by then, their approval will not matter as much because you will have learned something far more valuable. Your worth was never decided by their opinion. You were valuable before the achievement. You were valuable during the struggle. You were valuable when you failed. You were valuable when nobody noticed you. Your results can change, your circumstances can change, and your relationships can change, but your basic worth does not need to rise and fall with them. Carry that truth with you. And when the next difficult season arrives, remember what you learned here. Do not run from yourself. Do not return to old patterns simply because they feel familiar. Do not sacrifice your future just to make today comfortable. Remember the 15 turning points that changed the direction of this story. Release what keeps hurting you. Accept solitude when it teaches you. Listen deeply. Filter criticism. Practice patience. Act before you feel completely ready. Stop comparing timelines. Learn from failure. Protect your attention and take responsibility for your next step. Then keep going. Your life may not transform in one dramatic morning. It may change through hundreds of ordinary mornings when you choose differently. One decision, one habit, one boundary, one brave conversation, one focused hour, one honest apology, one peaceful night, one more attempt. That is enough. Never underestimate what repeated small actions can create. A river does not carve stone through one powerful moment. It changes the stone through persistence. You can do the same with your life. Keep showing up. Keep learning, keep adjusting, keep becoming. And someday you will look back at the person who thought everything was over and realize that they were standing at the beginning of a completely different life. The pain did not get the final word. The failure did not get the final word. The rejection did not get the final word. Your fear did not get the final word. You did. You chose to continue. So, if you are watching this while feeling lost, remember one thing. Being lost is not the same as being finished. Sometimes you simply need to stop, breathe, look around, and choose a new direction. Your next step may be small, but small does not mean meaningless. Take it, then take another. You do not need to become extraordinary tonight. You only need to become a little stronger, wiser, calmer, and more intentional than you were yesterday. Let tomorrow meet a version of you that refused to surrender your future to your past. And when you finally reach the place you once prayed for, do not forget the difficult road that shaped you. It taught you patience, it taught you courage, it taught you who you were without applause. Most importantly, it taught you that you could survive uncertainty and still keep hope alive. So, lift your head, clean your mind, protect your energy, choose your direction, start again if you need to. There is still time to build something meaningful. There is still time to become someone you respect. There is still time to create a life that feels honest and peaceful. Your story is not finished simply because one part was painful. A difficult page is still only one page. Turn it, keep writing. The next sentence may surprise you. The next season may teach you something beautiful. And the person you become along the way may be stronger than the person you once imagined becoming. So walk forward with courage, not because you know everything will be easy, but because you now know that you can handle hard things. That knowledge is powerful. Carry it into your work, your relationships, your dreams, and your quiet moments. When fear says stop, remember how far you have already come. When comparison says hurry, remember that your journey has its own timing. When failure says you are finished, remember that failure can be a teacher. When loneliness says nobody cares, remember that being alone can also become a season of self-discovery. When your old habits call you back, remember why you decided to change. And when you finally feel tired, rest, but do not surrender. There is a difference between resting and quitting. Give yourself time to breathe, then return to the road. You are allowed to move slowly. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to become different. You are allowed to outgrow what once felt comfortable. Most of all, you are allowed to believe that something better can be built from what remains. So make today count, not through pressure, but through intention. Do one thing your future self will thank you for, then do another tomorrow. Over time, those choices will become your new life. And one day, you may realize that the turning point was never one giant event. It was the moment you decided that your past would teach you, but never control you again. That was the moment everything began to change.